Namaskar. This is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. The Foreign Contribution Regulation Act, or the FCRA as it is popularly called, is a most stringent law meant to keep a check on and prevent the inflow of any foreign contributions of funds which can be inimical or dangerous to the national interests of India. It is a high-profile law which is often in the news, and this time it involves the Missionaries of Charity, the charitable organization set up by the Nobel laureate Mother Teresa. The Ministry of Home Affairs, or the MHA as it is called, which administers the FCRA, has on earlier occasions suspended and cancelled the FCRA registrations of many an organization for reasons of violating the Act. And that has included the cases of Ford Foundation, Amnesty International, Greenpeace, the Lawyers Collective, Compassion International, World Movement for Democracy, Open Society Foundation, the CHRI, National Endowment for Democracy, etc. Some of which, like in the case of CHRI, which is the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, and yet another NGO called INSAF, they have successfully gone to courts to challenge their suspension or cancellation of registration under the FCRA by the Ministry of Home Affairs. While the courts have upheld their plea, a belligerent MHA has refused to bow down and has suspended their registration all over again, like we saw in the case of the CHRI. Most organizations whose FCRA registrations were suspended or cancelled have chosen to toe the line or have shut shop instead of challenging the government in courts, sometimes thanklessly. The FCRA stipulates that no foreign contribution can be received by any individual or entity unless it is permitted by the Act and by the authorities thereunder. The data says that there are almost 50,000 FCRA registered entities and NGOs in India, many of whom face suspension and cancellation of registration from time to time for violating this very watertight and stringent law. Well, the government informed the Parliament in March last year that the FCRA licenses of 6,676 organizations had been suspended by it. Yet another report says that since 2011, the government has cancelled the FCRA registrations of 20,664 NGOs and entities. The reasons for such a large number of FCRA suspensions and cancellations by the government are many, and they include misutilization of foreign contributions, and that's a very popular violation, a very common one, and that happens when foreign contributions are used, for example, for purchase of land or real estate when not authorized, or for religious conversion, such as in the recent case of Mewat Trust for Education Welfare at Faridabad, and of course by the Al Hassan Education and Welfare Foundation at Lucknow, where it was found that money was being misused for conversions, or for building mosques, or for investing the funds into fixed deposits and securities, which is not permitted. These are very common violations on account of misutilization of funds. The other common violations that lead to such cancellation include the non-filing of annual returns by the NGOs, mixing their foreign funds with local funds by the NGOs, which is not permitted, and having multiple unauthorized bank accounts related to foreign funds. And such cancellation of the FCRA registration by the Ministry of Home Affairs is often in an ex parte and summary manner, and that too it takes place with cryptic reasons such as receipt of adverse input, which is very often not known. And this blatantly contravenes High Court orders which stipulate that FCRA registrations and cancellations and suspension must be through a reasoned speaking order after giving a suitable opportunity of being heard. Before we discuss the present controversy about the FCRA suspension of the Missionaries of Charity, let us have a look at the provisions of the FCRA itself. This Act says that it is mandatory for every organization, every entity, association, group, and NGO to be registered with the Ministry of Home Affairs before it receives any foreign contribution, which could be for a social, education, religious, economic, or cultural purpose. And that's because the very object of the Act is to regulate the acceptance and utilization of foreign contribution or foreign hospitality by certain individuals or associations or companies. And the object is to ensure that it prohibits the acceptance and utilization of foreign contribution or foreign hospitality for any activity by an NGO or by an entity which is detrimental to the national interests of India. The purpose is to protect the national interests of India from being disturbed because of foreign funds. The Act, incidentally, does not define this key term as to what constitutes national interest, which is why perhaps it leads to the arbitrary, untenable, and controversial orders of cancellation and suspension of the FCRA registration by the Ministry of Home Affairs in certain cases. Such orders are being increasingly noted in those cases where the objects or activities of a specific organization do not quite suit the political interests of the ruling party. As part of this objective, NGOs are required to give an undertaking to the Ministry of Home Affairs that the acceptance of foreign contribution is not likely to prejudicially impact the sovereignty and integrity of India, or it will not prejudicially impact its friendly relationship with other foreign states, or that it will not disturb communal harmony in India. Thus, such registration under the FCRA must have been received by any organization before it accepts any foreign contribution. To ensure that the utilization of foreign funds received by an NGO are strictly monitored, they are permitted to be received only in designated bank accounts with the State Bank of India, which the bank is then required to report to the central government within 48 hours of receipt of any foreign contribution. Further, a FCRA registered entity is required to file an annual return with the MHA every year, and these are stringently administered conditions. Despite such a strict and cumbersome law, the Union Home Ministry says that the annual inflow of foreign contribution was more than 58,000 crore rupees between 2016 and 2018-19. That's the kind of money that keeps coming into India from foreign sources, and it certainly has to be regulated and controlled. The persons or organizations which are not allowed to receive any foreign contribution under the FCRA are also worth being noted. Those who are not allowed to receive any foreign contribution under the FCRA include any candidate for any election, any correspondent, columnist, cartoonist, editor, owner, printer or publisher of a registered newspaper, any judge, any government servant or employee of any public sector undertaking, public sector bank or government department, etc. Any member of any legislature, which includes the parliament and goes down to even a member of a panchayat. Also, not allowed to get any foreign contribution are political parties and their office bearers. And then, finally, any organization which is involved in current affairs or in any audiovisual activities of news is again not allowed to receive foreign contribution. And foreign contribution which cannot be received has been widely defined to mean not just donations and gifts and securities, but also foreign hospitality, including free lodging, free boarding, travel, transport, and medical treatment, which none of these specified persons that we spoke about are permitted to receive. The recent controversy is to do with the Ministry of Home Affairs' refusal to renew the FCRA registration of the Missionaries of Charity because it cryptically says that certain adverse inputs have been noted by it. This practically renders its bank accounts non-operational, even though not frozen by the MHA. It renders a lot of money of the Missionaries of Charity and a lot of its activities potentially non-operational. As per returns filed by the Missionaries of Charity with the Ministry of Home Affairs, it received about Rs 75 crores of foreign donations from 347 individuals and 59 foreign institutional donors during the financial year 2021. Its biggest donors are based out of the USA and the UK. They donated funds for the purpose of primary health, educational assistance, treatment of leprosy patients, etc. The NGO operates about 250 bank accounts across India to utilize these foreign funds, and the bank balance in them as at 31st March 2021 totals to about Rs 103.76 crores, which is a lot of money for a lot of its activities. The MHA's refusal to renew the FCRA registration of the Missionaries of Charity which was valid till 31st December 2021, raised a huge hue and cry and soon took religious and political overtones. The firebrand West Bengal Chief Minister, Ms. Mamata Banerjee, angrily tweeted that she was shocked to hear that on Christmas, the Union Ministry froze all bank accounts of Mother Teresa's Missionaries of Charity. She says in a tweet that 22,000 patients and employees have been left without food and medicines. She further says that while the law is paramount, humanitarian efforts must not be compromised. Father Dominic Gomes, the Vicar General of the Archdiocese of Calcutta, was even more angrier in his tweet. He said that in freezing the bank accounts of the Missionaries of Charity, the government agencies have given a cruel Christmas gift to the poorest of the poor. He says that the Missionaries of Charity sisters and brothers are often the only friends of lepers and social outcasts who no one will venture near. This latest attack, according to him, on the Christian community and their social outreach is even more dastardly attack on the poorest of the poor. He condemned the government action completely. What is termed as an attack on the Christian community by the enraged Vicar General, it is truly a routine compliance issue for the Ministry of Home Affairs in its regular administration of the FCRA. In order to clear the air, the MHA said that it refused to renew the FCRA registration of the Missionaries of Charity because some adverse inputs were noticed. It does not mention what those were. The MHA said that the FCRA renewal was refused on 25th December 2021 for not meeting eligibility conditions and that no request had been received from the Missionaries of Charity for review of its refusal for renewal. The Home Ministry said that the license was valid till 31st October 2021, but it was extended till 31st December 2021 along with other associations whose renewal has also been pending. The Missionaries of Charity also clarified and it said that it had been informed that its FCRA renewal application had not been approved. Therefore, it says that as a measure to ensure that there is no lapse, it has asked its centers not to operate its foreign contribution bank accounts till the matter is resolved and that the FCRA registration of the Missionaries of Charity has neither been suspended nor cancelled, nor is there any freeze ordered by the MHA on its bank accounts, contrary to what the public perception was in the beginning. The reasons for refusal to renew the Missionaries of Charity FCRA registration are not known, and nor are known the details of the adverse inputs noticed by the MHA which led to its refusal. We would, however, believe that the matter will be honorably resolved this time, since it involves an organization like the Missionaries of Charity and not the likes of Amnesty or Greenpeace, which are often stuck in controversies worldwide. This is a different case, and we think that despite it being an administrative issue for the MHA, it will receive a different and appropriate treatment. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.